welcome to the Boston Common, the oldest public park in the world, founded in 1634. It was originally pasture land owned by William Blackstone, the first settler to the Boston area. Well, in 1830, nearly 200 years later, it was found illegal to allow cows to graze on the common. Well, today, the Common is the very heart of Boston, hosting many events as political rallies, outdoor concerts, and even ice skating on Frog Pond in the winter. Well, I'm standing near the entrance to the public gardens on the bridge. Off to the side are pathways leading to the statue of George Washington, the shrubs, and all of the beautiful flowers that bloom in the spring. Well, it just reminds me of the Boston Common quilt, with the common in the center and pathways leading off in all directions. So join me as we tour the common and learn how to make this beautiful quilt. Had a great time on my trip to Boston. Orion, Sue, and I had so much fun exploring the city. But now I want to show you the different sizes of the Boston Common quilts. This is the crib quilt, and it is exactly the same size as the very center of the larger quilts. There's two different color families in it. It's the blue color family and the purple color family. And then there's the transition color of the beautiful yellow. Now, it's easy to do, just quilting with your walking foot in a rectangular design. Just stitch right around those squares. It looks beautiful. And then this one is finished off with a narrow yellow framing border and a wide blue border. Beautiful. Well, this one is the lap robe. Now, it has the very same size as the center, two color families, the blue and the pink. And once again, the yellow is the transition. Quilting in the shape of a rectangle, but in this yellow inner border, there's wonderful cable stitching, so gentle that you can do it with a walking foot. And then this lap robe size is finished with a narrow Seminole border, only the four colors of family color number one, the blue. Well, look at this magnificent queen quilt. Oh, so many wonderful colors in it. Starts out with the black and the blue and color family one into the pink. And then there's wonderful cabling in the inner border and the pink inner border. And then the wide Seminole finishes it with all 9 fabrics, a burgundy border, and then a stripe. And look at the back. My cousin Carol Ann did the quilting on it, and she used variegated thread. Wonderful finish. Well, this one is a nice big queen size, but you should see the king. Now, it's exactly the same size as the center of the queen, but in addition, it has a narrow Seminole border, exactly as the one in the lap robe. Well, they're fun to do. They're from strips. Well, let me show you how. These are the 9 fabrics that I'm using for my Boston Common. Green for color family number 1 and red for color family number 2. Now, number 1 is this dark green, and in the finished quilt, it will be on the outside edge of the center as well as the inside edge of the Seminole. And then it goes to just a little bit lighter, 3 and 4, each time getting lighter into color number 5, which is the center or the transition fabric. And then we start into the second color family. This is number 6, 7, 8, and then the dark burgundy is color number 9. In the finished quilt, it makes up the very center of the quilt as well as the outside edge. Well, whenever you're purchasing your fabric, you purchase equal amounts. For instance, the queen size, you purchase 2/3 of a yard of each one of these 9 fabrics. And once you've selected them, be sure and do a paste up sheet because it's so easy to get confused. I just cut out a small swatch and pasted it in place. This is the first color family, each one numbered down to the background fabric right here at 5, and then repeat with the second color family, 6 to 9. And when those strips are all sewn together, this is what you get. And so you can go ahead and check and see if you like it. Background right in the center, and it's also on the outside edges. Well, all of those strips in the center are 2.5 inches wide. See, it's easy to do. So just take your fabric, fold it salvage to salvage, put it straight on the grid. Very important that you have straight strips on this quilt. And then just place your ruler with the 2.5-inch line right along the outside edge and cut. Now if you want to just go halfway, work your fingers up and cut the rest of the way. Cut all 2.5-inch strips. For queen size, you cut 8 of them. Now those outside edges of the background are a little bit wider. They're actually 2 3/4, so that whenever you square off those edges, you have an adequate 1/4-inch seam. So I'm just going to move my ruler over at 2 3/4 and cut. Now, so you can remember that these are a little bit wider, you might want to go ahead and put a pin in each one of these strips, or else bundle them all together, tie a strip around them so you don't get them confused. And once you have all those strips cut, just go ahead, cut it on the fold, and stack all your strips right side up. So let me get the strips all cut. I'm going to start on the very center of the quilt. This is the part right here, and from baby quilt to king size, the center is made exactly the same. I have 19 half strips all in a row, and let me show you how they go. You start out right here with the 2 3/4-inch strip of number 5, and then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, transition 5 right here, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then once you come to 9, you start going back down again. So this is 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And on the outside edge, another 2 3/4-inch strips. All of these in the center are 2.5-inch strips. And always line them up with the cut edge at the top and the salvage edge at the bottom. So it actually works out. The salvage edge may be a little jagged. Now, work in pairs and take the pieces and flip the piece on the right onto the piece on the left. Just flip them right sides together the whole way across. Line them up. Get those edges even like this. Now, they're all flipped right sides together. This piece right on the end, just a single lonely piece hanging out. Once they're all flipped right sides together, then stack them in order. This is your sewing order. So you can just sit down and power sew. Well, it's a 1/4-inch seam allowance, and you want to have an accurate one. So I've looked the situation over. There's a number of different ways you can get that perfect 1/4-inch. Now, this is the foot that came with my sewing machine. This is a 1/4-inch foot, so from the center right here to the outside edge right against that bar, it's a perfect 1/4-inch. Now, it's just snaps right in place, and I'm ready for sewing. Now, if you don't have quite that 1/4-inch foot, then there's another way that you can get. This is a foot that you can purchase for your sewing machine. Go to your sewing machine dealer, tell them what your model is, and see. And this one has a bar along right here. It's a snap-on as well, has a long bar. You put your fabric right up against that bar, and you can get your 1/4-inch. Now, you might want to try a magnetic seam guide. You might not want to use it on your computerized sewing machine, but that would lock right up against your foot, and you could get the 1/4-inch seam. Another good tip, what about just a pack of paper? Because it has a gummy side here, you can just line it up, make sure you measure a 1/4-inch from the needle. I would make sure that's very accurate, and just stick it down. Whenever it's not sticking anymore, just peel off the back page and you can stick it down again. That gives a nice ridge along there. Or one more idea. How about just a piece of moleskin that you can just cut a pad, make sure it's lined up a 1/4-inch from the needle, position, and then that can help you guide your strips along as well. Very important to have a consistent and accurate 1/4 inch seam. You know, the more accurate you are now, the better your whole quilt will fit together. I also recommend a 1.8 stitch length. That's fairly short, or about 18 stitches to the inch, because we're going to do a lot of cutting and sewing back together. You don't want your seams to fall apart. Now, once you have that perfect 1/4 inch set up, you can do some power sewing. Just take that first pair and just lock those stitches right on the end. And I like to sit back. Sit up straight, sit back, but I match out here. Almost do a serger type of technique because I have the 1/4 inch up there. I find that I can go so much faster if I have my hands lined up, my outside edges lined up. Just zip right through there. You know, this would even be a great quilt to do on the serger. Well, once you have that first pair of strips through, all you need to do is just go back, pick up that second pair. They're already right sides together. Butt them right on behind. Just slip them right through. And assembly line sew straight down through all 19 strips. Let me get that done. I've been assembly line sewing my strips together. They're just all coming off the end of the sewing machine. And once one falls off the table, they just all follow in order. Now I want to cut them apart and stack them in order. It's so much easier if you do it this way, and then you don't have to go back and rethink all of your numbers. So I start at the end and just keep on pulling forward. Now I'm ready to do my pressing, and it's really easy if you use a pressing mat that has a grid on it, because you don't want to get those bowed strips. Well, this is a small pressing mat. I thought that one would work great. However, my friend Manuel made me a pressing table, and it's so much easier to have all this space. So I'm just going to take my strips and place my stack of strips on the grid line like this. And this is the same way that we're going to press throughout the whole quilt. So just place your strip on a straight line, set the seam just by going over it, and then with your fingers just open it. With the tip of your iron, go right in there. I'm using 2 fingers to push open that seam. Once the one strip is done, just push it over there and just go to the next one. Constantly keeping in order. Set the seam and then open it. With the tip of the iron, go into that seam and use your 2 fingers. Well, I'm just going to go right through this stack and continue sewing these all together in order, always pressing in the same direction. I have all 19 half strips sewn together, and all of the seams are pressed in one direction. This is now cut into 2.5 inch pieces, and since it's so long, it's best if you just fold it on number 9, shake it out together, and then lay it straight on the grid. I'm just going to line up those lines so it is perfect. Now when I cut my 2.5 inch strips, I actually prefer the ruler cutter combination tool, because the cutter is attached to the ruler. There's no chance of slipping, plus it's heavy so it doesn't slide when it goes across all those seams. So right now I just want to line up the cutter on the lines on the mat so I can straighten that left edge. You just bear down hard and cut away from you. This part is gone. Now, these are all 2.5 inch sections, so I'm going to line up the 2.5 inch line on the ruler cutter. Just bear down and cut away from me. Now I'm turning these 7 into 2 stacks of 3 each, plus 1 extra on the side. Now turn them so that in the left stack, the seams all go down. And on the right stack, I'm going to turn them so that the seams all go up. They're going in opposite directions. Up, and on this one, they're going down. And I'm actually going to set them so that the right one is 1 step lower than the left one. This is that seminal idea. It's always going to be one step lower. And this is what I want to match right here. If the seams are supposed to go straight across, these are those 2 3/4 inch strips. So there's a little bit of extra right there. Okay, so take the piece on the right, flip it to the piece on the left, and then we're just going to line these up and lock the seam. And the best way for me is to just start first by locking that first seam together. And then once you lock that first seam, just by feeling it, I'm just laying it on there and I can feel it, then you know where to begin this piece right up here. You don't actually need to sew on this part, just start on this first piece that's wrong sides up. Hold down those seams, get them lined up, and once you get the first one lined up, they should naturally fall into order. And just continuously lock those seams together. If you need to pull on one of them or ease in on one of them, just make sure they line up and match. Oh, and your stiletto would also be a great help to keep those seams going together. Well, let me show you how this is lining up on the right side, because those seams are matched and going straight across from each other. Looking good. Okay, so I'm just going to continue sewing pairs. I'll sew 3 pairs, and then I'll add this one on, so there's a total of 7 in a row. And this is what it looks like. Ooh, I am quick. Well, I did time myself and found out it actually takes 1.5 hours from piecing the strips into getting this cut and sewn together. And once it's sewn together, 1 square lower each time, then just take it to your new pressing mat and go down the center strip, pressing the seams in opposite directions from the center. Well, from this part, I need to go on and plan to do the corners. Let me get more strips ready. We're stripping again. This time you want to put 14 half strips in each stack for a queen size quilt. Start out on the outside edge with that 2 3/4 inch number 5 or that background, and then they're all 2.5 inch strips from 1 straight up to number 9. 2.5 inch strips of each one of them, and then finish again with that 2 3/4 inch strip on the outside edge. Well, once they're arranged, then divide them into pairs. And I'm just going to put a slight separation in between each one of them so you can see the pairs. And you've got that one little 2 3/4 inch strip on the outside edge. This poor lonely heart sitting here. Well, when I assembly line sew these pairs together, I like to just take the stacks of strips. I put the one that's on the left, put it right side up, put the piece on the right just on my lap. So I can constantly be picking up and flipping right sides together. And then it's just that good old pedal to the metal. You know, I timed this step, and it actually takes 2.5 hours. So put on your favorite music, get comfortable, and just do that pedal to the metal until you have these pairs just sewn through one after the other. And then clip them apart, keep them in pairs, the same pairs, and clip them apart. Make 2 stacks with 7 pairs in each one. I already have a stack going right here. Now in the first stack, when you drop it onto your pressing mat, you want to have the stitching across the top. The cut edge is on the left side and the salvage is on the right. So just pick up that top one, just set that seam, and then when you open and press it, the seam will be pressed toward color family number 2. You know that this is the number 9. This is the second color family. So go ahead and go through the first stack, press them consistently. Now we want to press the seams the opposite direction on the second stack. So let's just take it and turn it over so that now the salvage is on the left and the cut edge is on the right. So when you pick up that first pair, line it up straight on the grid on the pressing mat, and when you open and press, all of the seams will be pressed toward color family number 1. We're doing opposites, so that we get both of these stacks together. Well, I have 2.5 hours of work to do, so I'm going to pedal to the metal. I have all of my strips sewn together, and it was great fun. Well, I have them pressed half in opposite directions. Now the left set, all of the seams are pressed towards number 9. And in the right set, they're all pressed towards number 1. I cut them into 2.5-inch sections, and now I have 18 in the left set and 18 in the right set. Well, now I want to show you something phenomenal. I'm going to unsew these pieces and put them back together. The first piece I want to make is the bottom center end. Now that's going to go right off the center. This is what it looks like. And then I'm going to do the top center end. And I have one of those pieces laid out here already. Now with the pieces that I unsew, you know, I'm not going to waste one single little bit because I'm going to make seminal corners. I need to have 4 seminal corners, and these are already started laying them out. Going great. Well, let me show you how to unsew. You could use a seam ripper, but you know me, gotta go fast. So I do prefer to use the small rotary cutter, and it can be very safe if you do it this way. So let me take the left set, and I want to unsew between 8 and 9. Oh, and do keep your paste up sheet handy so you know that this is 8 and this is 9. Open your cutter, and I'm just going to hold it like this, sort of like a spoon. Okay, the fingers in the back hold the pieces on the right. This hand holds the pieces on the left, and all you do is just drop your blade against those stitches. And see, my fingers aren't anywhere near it. I'm just going to lay that out. That's the start of it. Take what I unsewed and place it over here in the stack for the corners. Okay, that's the left set. Let's do the right set. Okay, so now I need to unsew between 8 and 7. Okay, grab hold of it and just drop those stitches, drop the blade right on the stitches, and you'll start to see a pattern emerge. These go right over here like this. Okay, so grab the next one and line it up as it is, but then move it over one step or one square. And where I'm going to unsew is right here in the middle. Now when you're doing this, you're actually going to be doing 2 at a time, 1 for each end. Okay, there's that. Let me stick this right over here. Grab one from the right set. Let's see, if we line it up as it is and then move it one step over, then you'll see. Let me unsew here, and you'll see how it's coming together. This goes very, very quickly. Okay, so you just keep on unsewing and making that pattern emerge. This goes over here in the corner stack. So you can see how it's going down. You've got that pattern going. Take a look at it. You don't even need to follow the numbers if you just look and see how it's going. Well, once you have them all laid out, then I took the left and the right and flipped them right sides together, and I just assembly line sewed right down through here. And once you assembly line sew, then press the seams so they all go in the same direction and clip them apart right in between so that you can turn them over and see what's on the other side. Now, I want to have locking seams, and the best way to do this is to take the first row, turn it wrong side up, and turn the seams so that they all go down. Take the second row and turn them so that the seams all go up. You want to start creating locking seams. The third one, all the seams would be turned so they go down. And just keep on going across there, alternating the seams the whole way down, and then just sew them together. So you have that whole center end done. When you do the second center end, make sure you start out with the first seam going up and down and up. It's completely opposite, so that whenever you're ready to set them together, you will be totally amazed how you get those locking seams. Here's the center. We finished it earlier. Let me move this all out of the way and see how I can just open it up and spread it out. Okay, here's the one. When you flip it right sides together, you can get those seams lined up and locking. It'll be perfect. And it's exactly the same on the opposite end. Get them lined up and lock them. You'll have a perfect center for the middle of your Boston Common.